Opportunity to welcome all of you to the SIS Academy for Security Studies, but also to this press briefing today. I must say thank you for coming. I think this is just another occasion of interaction and conversations we've, as a service, been having with the media, but through you, the Gambian people and other followers of SIS reforms over these past 5 years. I am therefore thanking you very much for the time you found to come and join us on this auspicious occasion earlier held, but for now, this press briefing, the thrust of which is to have this conversation regarding sources, we call it sources, state of the SIS, for such sources. And what we will attempt to do is to go through the past 5 years on what the SIS has been doing in its mandate as an intelligence service, but also importantly, the task that was given to the service to reform the agency and make it a premier intelligence service for this country, for which, from the onset, allow me to thank, of course, the Gambia government, the people, partners, but importantly, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Adam Barrow, for creating the enabling environment for security services to endeavor to reform, restructure, reposition, and recast the security sector. And I think 5 years on, we've come very far in changing the dynamics and changing the national security architecture of this country. That said, and for the purpose of this briefing, we want to go down memory lane, and I think some of these things are already matters that we've discussed. But again, there is no saying that the task and challenge that was assigned to the SIS was a daunting one in 2017 from many, many angles. But that said, we as a service, we tasked ourselves to improve and reform on the operational capabilities and activities, of course, in tandem with human rights observations. We also endeavored to improve our relations, both domestically and internationally, I mean home and abroad, our relations. And I think the number of press briefings we've had with the media, again, speaks volumes of the improved relation between the SIS and the Gambians, the SIS, and a very important actor in national security management being the media. And also, by the same token, our external partners and friends. It's improved much. Then the other strand, of course, we tasked ourselves was on the institutional strengthening of the SIS as an important institution for national security management, national peace, harmony, national reconciliation. And in this effort, I think we can report that the SIS is much stronger, much organized, and better poised today than it was 5 years ago. So the institutional strengthening, to have the right platform and posture to meet our national security mandate has been greatly improved over these past 5 years. And another area we also focus on is the improvement in the quality of our product. And when we say the quality of our product, these are the reports we do, the summaries we prepare, the assessments we conduct, and the advice we give. And I think 5 years on, we want to say in this regard, the credibility of our product has greatly, greatly improved. Our reports are much sought after and much valued by our consumers. The credibility, which is very critical, of our product have hugely improved. And I think every Gambian, to the extent possible, will attest to the fact that no one has said, SIS no friendly, or it's SIS whose report has caused this damage. So far, we touch wood, but that's how far we've come. Because as far as the intelligence services is concerned, credibility is a sine qua non. Credibility is zero margin for not being credible. But all these reforms, again, are not happening in isolation. They are kind of feeding into each other and interlocking, if you like it that way. And so the institutional reform is feeding into the capacity building. The capacity building is feeding into the quality of the reports and intelligence assessments we do. The intelligence assessment is feeding into the credibility of the service. The credibility of the service is improving on our collection across the country. And for that purpose, as you know, we wish to report, the focus of the service has been on our core mandate. And our core mandate is intelligence collection, analysis, and dissemination. I repeat, collection of information which we analyze, and must I say, we have dedicated analysts to that. For that purpose, we are just doing analysis, researching, and constantly evaluating the pieces of reports which we get, and through which and after which we do provide our reports out to our consumers on previous, current, and potentially existing and emerging situations. Based on our analysis of trends and patterns, we do focus. And I think that has kept us very busy, and I wish to report that being focused on these mandates has kept the service very, very busy over this period, and to the extent that we don't miss the handcuffs. So we are no more, and must I report that in these past 5 years, we have not arrested, nor has the SIS detained anybody across the country. And again, this has not made us lesser busy. I think we are much busier with our focus on our core mandate of information collection, analysis, and dissemination across all specters and spheres of activities, from national security issues, defense issues, intelligence issues, cross-border matters, organized crime, economic issues, prices, market situations. Again, as we already discussed earlier, with the focus shifting and the paradigm shift from state-centric security to human security, we have also tasked ourselves to say, if it matters to life, it matters to the intelligence. And that being that, even as mundane as it may sound, the SIS is interested in the rainfall patterns of the country. One may ask, why the SIS and why the rains? Well, we are an agricultural-based economy, out of which our GDP largely depends on. So if the rains are not good, that has implications for our national economy. It has implications, therefore, for our national security. It has implications for our national budget. That being that, the intelligence, as I said, if it matters to life, it matters to us. Again, human security being the focus, we pay attention to matters like that. So that is the way we've been doing business in these past 5 years across these strands, and we wish to report that we think we have made great strides in this respect. We have reformed as we tasked ourselves at the beginning to reform, recast, reset, re-engineer, recalibrate, if you like it that way, and importantly, reposition the intelligence service as the premier intelligence service of this country. That's where we've been these past 5 years. And coming out of the last 5 years, in a kind of challenged security environment, I think the SIS has come out better, stronger, more organized, more focused, and much clear-eyed about the mission, if you like it, the vision that we have set ourselves to deliver on. And we want to think, and we want to also, by the same token, beyond thinking, believing, based on our assessment of our relations with the Gambian people, we believe that there is much improved confidence in our relation, which is very important, between the service and the Gambian people, between the service and our other security partners, be it the police, be it the military, be it the army, be it the fire service, be it the prisons, be it the immigration, and be it other stakeholders. We continue to be driven by the belief that we need to complement each other. We are gaining almost nothing, if anything at all, by competing. So we are consulting, we are coordinating, we are collaborating, we are cooperating, we are communicating on all spheres, and it's not made us a lesser service. That's on our relations. Again, on our external relations, much improved. Today the service is pleased. I think pride should be avoided, but we take note with humility the high standing of the service, regionally, continentally, and globally. And I think, I believe, that the just ended opening session is a testimony of this, that the credibility and standing of the SIS, based on the reforms it's undertaken over these 5 years, has gained the respect of friends and partners abroad. The fact that the news is here is a testimony. In addition, we may wish to report by the same token that on our external relations and our standing in the region, the SIS has since 2019 been the chairman of the Regional Intelligence Services of West Africa. So the whole ECOWAS intelligence services are being chaired by a small Gambia. This is by no means a small feat. This is quite laudable, and must I use this opportunity again to thank the Gambian people and its government, and of course the fine men and women of the SIS for the work, well, for the Gambia government and its people for the trust, but for the service members distinguished members of the service for the work they've continued to do. Today, small Gambia continues to chair and coordinate the 15 member states of West Africa. And this is quite a feat for the Gambia. So it's also speaking to the improved relations and the confidence and trust that is being bestowed on this country. As I said, on the relations still, because it's important to talk about these improved relations 5 years on. When we came, people were running away from us. Today, people are running to us or coming to us. And I repeat, and I'm privileged and privy to this. I know how much on daily, weekly basis, appointments, letters of requests for consultations or discussions or meetings we receive. And when we today invite people for discussions or consultations, we've realized that they are not coming jittery. They are coming confident. For us, that's a task. And you may ask, how did all this happen? When we took over, we accepted our reality as a service. We didn't bury our heads in the sand. We accepted that we were loaded. We accepted that we are not widely accepted. We accepted that. We accepted that there was palpable cause for the reforms of the service. And we also accepted that we are not having it all right. I think that was very important in setting the pace of our reforms. And once we accepted that, we therefore started engaging communities, home and abroad, Gambians of all shades of life, diplomatic communities, religious homes, governors' offices, chiefs, alcalos, VDC, youths, to consult, reach out to them, have these discussions about gaining the confidence of the Gambian people, because we also wanted to build an SIS of the Gambian people, a service of the Gambian people that will be here to serve the interests of the Gambian people. Over time, we can attest to this, that it's improved much, and I think it's also observable that our relations with the Gambian people across all spheres, stratas, and layers has greatly improved. Today, when they said SIS is here to see you, it's relaxed. When they say DG or someone calls you from the SIS, you look forward to it. Generally, people look forward to having these discussions, because again, we had committed ourselves over these past 5 years to be a service of the people, to also improve on our operations. Our operations, needless to say, again, I think I've talked about this already on the no arrest. But when we came, must I say this, and I think some of the media can recall this, we have said, no more excesses.
Yes.
That was more or less our hashtag. If you like a social media name, we said, no more excesses. And this was not only for the public, it was for our own selves. Because we know the excesses has got us in the wrong scheme of things. So we assign ourselves to say, no more excesses. And over these 5 years, humbly, I wish to report that we've not only cut on these excesses, but we've cut off the excesses. And I repeat, not only cut on, it's cut off. Not cut on, cut off. And I think we've not lost anything by doing that. We are better poised and doing our core mandate of serving the Gambian people, providing our intelligence product and assessments to the consumers. And by the same token, obviously, as you know, the DG's office in my humble person, over these past 5 years, has undertaken various national tours to reach out with certain objectives over these past 5 years. Yearly we will conduct once, twice desirably, but where we can't, at least once we'll go on national tour to conduct assessment and provide briefing on the security situation in the country. Again, these are all part of our improved operations to encourage inter-service cooperation among armed and security services. When we do go on tour, we do interact with all security services across this country to again promote that spirit de corps, but also encourage cooperation, as I said, coordination, consultation, communication, and collaboration across the spectrum of the security, national security architecture. We do encourage sharing of information. Again, the more we share, I think we are not losing anything by sharing. In fact, the more the merrier, it is said. So we've realized that the more we share, in fact, the better for national security management. Again, we do use this opportunity to interact with the regional governors, the chiefs, the communities. We conduct community meetings across the country. Again, importantly, during this tour, I would go to, as part of the outreach, have my session at the regional FMs, be they the ones in Farafenye, be it the one in Basse, Brikama Ba, Jara Soma, Brikama, or other outlets. Again, all this is showing the level and our interest to serve the Gambian people and make the intelligence service also accessible to the service. Because obviously, we did, again, 2017, commit ourselves to have an intelligence service that is trusted by the Gambian people. Even though some of our activities, obviously, will remain covert. We are also a covert service. You know? By our nature, we are a secret service. You know, the bad guys, we have to look at them covertly. You know, that one is not for public. That one is covert operation because the bad guys are not in public. The bad guys are be it for organized crime, be it for sabotage, be it for other forms, cross-border issues, be it for terrorism, be it for cyber crime, you know, cyber-based challenges. And must I say, today, I think it's important that we bring as a national security priority cyber issues because a lot is happening on the cyberspace through the dark web and other hidden activities. So national security management would therefore involve going cyber and again going undercover to look for and confront on the cyberspace the bad guys and the enemies of state. But that aside, we continue to engage publicly, again, for both operational methods, be they covert, be they overt, it is all geared towards enhancing national security for this country primarily first, and for other consumers to follow. And that has really improved our relations. It has improved our cooperation. It has improved the confidence between us and the Gambian people. Very importantly. Capacity building. Again, linked to institutional strengthening. We are an advisory institution, and therefore the advices we provide should be actionable, should be credible. And therefore, we have dedicated a lot of time, resources, and personnel to improve on our capacity, to generate and create more knowledge for the SIS as a service. SIS is not supposed to be a service of dummies. The SIS requires a lot of brain, brain work, a lot of intellectual thinking, a lot of deep analysis, a lot of critical focus. And therefore, that cannot be an easy, simple, uneducated, and ill-informed business. That's the premises on which we approach capacity building. And therefore, 2017 to now, I think we have dedicated, as the Director of Reforms has indicated, he's also Special Assistant in the Office of the DG, we have dedicated conscious efforts to improve the capacity of the SIS personnel, and across all status, from the lowest level to the DG's level. Education for all, capacity building for all, but also relevant capacity building. And we are already seeing and reaping the benefits of this. It's improved on our primary product, as I said, the product, the quality of our reports. Just like our friends, our cousins, the media, cannot be writing reports that are not first palatable to your consumer or to your readership. You shouldn't be writing reports that are not precise. You shouldn't be writing reports that are not succinct. You shouldn't be writing reports that are stale, outdated. You know, you shouldn't write a report that doesn't have an audience. You know, you shouldn't also write a report that will generate problems and difficulties. So, just like you, ours is also to inform, educate. Educate, inform, educate, advise. Hardly do we go for entertainment, but I think that may be just where we may slightly part paths with the media, but we have a lot of fundamental similarities to inform, to educate, to analyze, to advise, to point in a direction, to highlight, etc., etc. And the quality of that will reflect the quality of those who are doing the reports. And because the reports that we do, our products have far-reaching implications, we want to do it right. And to borrow the VP's word, get it right. And that's why we've been doing all this over these past 5 years, to build the required capacity. Silently, but I wish to report that the SIS is much better, trained, educated, home and abroad, than it was 2016. We can all say this. We've been in the service for over 2 decades, nearly 3 decades. So we can see its evolution and relate with it over this period. And it is for that probably one reason why I'm so, you may be asking, why this stack of books or compilations? I wish to say that these compilations we see are theses written by officers of the SIS over these past 5 years. These are theses. We've created knowledge. These are master's programs being carried out by members of the service over these 5 years that we have consciously dedicated efforts to training. These are these are created knowledge. You may wish to know what master's program does is to interpret knowledge. PhDs will create knowledge, but master's program will interpret knowledge. These are knowledge interpretation. Most of these research materials are very relevant to the Gambia's national security, national interest matters. Be it the SSR, be it the security sector reform in that regard, be it diplomacy and security studies, be it foreign policy, be it irregular migration, This is the security sector reform. This is our latest one, as recent as September 2021. This is the Gambia and ECOWAS protocol in peace and security. And this one is on the husband, Twitter, contact, Islamic variant, and again, this is done by one of our staff who did media studies. So, this is important. This is important for us. I did mine in 2000. This was nearly a very lonely thesis in the SIS for many years. I did mine in 2000. Today, within 5 years, we've got this and more to count. So I think, indeed, when we said we've set ourselves to develop the capacity of our service for the interest of this country, we have delivered on it, and we continue to be committed to delivering on the human resources development of the SIS.
No, you are our cousins, as Lady rightly said, so why not clap for your cousins? Well, we have a lot in common, definitely. Media and intelligence. A lot of similarities.
So that's what we've been doing. Thank you. Over this period, we have trained what we can take count of, over 247 staff that we can take count of. 16 of them in master's program, 41 of them in bachelor's degrees, and as I said, in all spheres, from management to media, to languages, to political science, to law, human resource management, planning, and the list goes on and on. Again, peace and security. We've got holders of diplomas in peace and security, in development, in teaching, in HTC, so on and so forth, and information technology, as I said, and more. Should I emphasize? I think there needs to be a lot of prioritization of IT knowledge, of cyber awareness, of cyber security, of engineering in computer science, etc., etc. Today, you manage your cyberspace, you manage your national security. If you lose your cyberspace platforms, you'll be faced with daunting challenges of national security. So that's been on the capacity development, which has fed into the institutional strengthening. Today, part of the institutional strengthening, we have him as the first time a director of reforms. When we came in, we knew we need to reform. Today, we have a directorate dedicated to reforms and restructuring. Until 2017, we didn't have a legal person. We didn't have a legal department as it exists now. Today, we have a directorate for legal advice, to advise us on issues of compliance and on issues of operational compliance, etc., etc. And it's been a valuable addition. In addition to other reforms, undertakings we've taken across the country, again, operationally, we have improved our deployments across the country, taking security to the doorsteps of people. Again, a big testimony to the Gambia or Gambians' appreciation in our assessment of the SIS. Today we are spread across the length and breadth of this country with an initiative that we came up with, calling it the National Security Belt Initiative. We call it NASBI, N-A-S-B-I, to run kind of a security belt across this country or around this country. It's a strategic initiative, and we are making required steps to increase our presence, improve our collections, and improve our relations with the Gambian people. Again, needless to say, we've also approached the security business as security is everybody's business. And that's been our message, and I think the Director of Reforms has touched on that, and we therefore call on all of us to take security as everybody's business. Again, as part of the institutional strengthening, we've endeavored, and through goodwill of government and partners, we've been able to build and have our own academy for the first time in the history of this country. We are having an academy built, developed, and delivering services within these past 5 years. This academy, as you know, or may know, was inaugurated in 2018. And our aspirations, obviously, is to streamline security into every aspect of national endeavors, to bring security from the backwaters to the mainstream. So security is critical and is a centerpiece for national development. You can't have national development in the absence of security, national security. So that being that, and our approach being that national security and security affairs cut across every undertaking or human undertaking, be it economic, be it social, be it political, be it education, be it health, etc., etc. So as a result of which, this academy, we intend to interact with almost every sphere of Gambian here. It's a security installation, yes, but we want to use it as a platform where we create security awareness, interact with partners, both home and abroad, to create and enhance security awareness. And as I said, I hereby, in that regard, therefore, wish to offer, and I hope we can take these discussions further with the Gambia Press Union, where we will collaborate with the media and provide, we wouldn't call it educate because maybe you are more educated than us, but create awareness about security where we think we have a strategic advantage or strategic knowledge to create the required advantage of security. Because security is just more than closing your door and sleeping. You can be vulnerable. You are carriers of information. You are persons who are interacting with everybody or with many people. You have access to many places. Ordinarily, not everybody will be in this sitting room. Ordinarily, but here you are sitting. Ordinarily, not any of person will go to State House. The media has the privilege to even push a microphone before a head of state. That is ordinarily not ordinary, So that means you have access. But because you have access, you are also targets. You are targets of collection. You are targets of recruitment. You are targets of national security interests, of other interests. I think when we have this interaction here, so that we have the awareness that what do you say, how do you say it, when do you say it, where do you say it, to whom do you say it? That awareness is important because you have a lot of power in your mobile phone, or in your report, or in your pen. So that awareness, I think, genuinely in the interest of national security, we need to have these conversations between us, and we are ready to offer the awareness training programs. And of course, we'll also, learn something from our media friends. But as he said, there are a lot of similarities between us and you. So I'm sure the enabling conditions are already in place for us to have that very, very important collaboration. So I think I've covered most of what we've done over this period regarding institutional strengthening of the service, the capacity building of the service, the improved operations. Again, I've talked about them. No more excesses, no more arrests, no more detention, no more hangaman kanla. I think you don't hear it anymore in the streets. I don't think you've heard that in these past 5 years. Tell us if you've heard it, because that is excessive. It's not professional. So we've again reined in, if you like it that way, our operatives, our staff, to be very, very highly professional, focused on intelligence collection, on the analysis and the providing of report, and serve, importantly, the Gambian people. And in that mission, the service, again, we are a secret service, it's not everything we can say, but we've been involved for these past 5 years in efforts to encourage peace, reconciliation, social harmony, encourage discussions, escalating the tensions, reaching out to the stakeholders, encouraging dialogue, encouraging negotiation around issues, of course giving timely information for decision makers, opinion leaders, persons of influence, community leaders, district, regional leaders, to be able to react in time to manage national security or regional or district or village issues. Again, we may not be able to publicly say, well, that's not our calling, but I can authoritatively report that the SIS has been engaged actively in ensuring a very enabling environment, national security environment. Of course, in collaboration with our other partners. They may be security actors, they may be civilian actors, they may be regional administrators, they may be opinion leaders, persons of influence, to help the national security environment. For many of the activities that have taken place successfully over these past 5 years to have happened. I think, again, but we've been engaged. Because for us, that is a critical calling on our part, that we see this country. Well, in a democratic dispensation, there will be dissenting voices. That's the calling of democracy. There will be various opinions. But we want all this, and we've endeavored for all this to happen in an environment that is peaceful and secured, without compromises on national security, or worryingly undermining national security. So I think the fact that processes have happened in these past 5 years. We've conducted peaceful presidential elections, we've conducted peaceful National Assembly elections. I think these are all testimonies to that enabling environment of peace and security that has existed. Of course, there are concerns that needs to be addressed, and the SIS didn't lose sight of the cyber challenges. Again, the cyberspace continues in our assessment, and we've organized a regional forum on this. I think the cyberspace, the abuse of cyberspace, poses threats, genuine concerns, and risks to national security. How and what we do on the cyberspace, what we do in those forums, how we heighten or incite national security situations are concerned, and this is not really specific to only the Gambia. But we as a service, I think in 2019, we organized a regional meeting in this country that says cyberspace, the abuse. I'm not saying the harnessing. The cyber, the IT, it provides a lot of opportunities for us in this day and age. But it also poses a lot of challenges, from cyberbullying to inciting of hate speech, etc., remains a concern. And this is not specific to only Gambia, it's specific to all of us. I think recently, or even there's an West African country that passed a legislation on hate speech on the cyberspace. So how do we manage all this? And all of us, I think, have a stake in seeing that we harness the big opportunities, the advantageous opportunities that the cyberspace provides, but also avoid, manage, prevent, and discourage the abuse of cyberspace, especially where it is running counter to our national security, to our national interests. That said, we think there is so much that can be harnessed and utilized on the cyberspace. That's been the SIS, home and abroad. That's been us on domestic policy, on foreign policy. We continue to work with ministries, as I say, MDAs, ministries, department agencies, foreign ministries, foreign actors, diplomats, etc., in pursuit of our national interests, home and abroad. The same for the domestic at the national level. And as you know, the SIS runs on 2 turbines, if you like it that way. We run on 2 engines. We run on internal and external. So external matters, daily matters to us, what is happening in the immediate region, what is happening in the immediate neighborhood, as it has to do with national security. Are there the issues in the Gulf, in the Gulf of Guinea? Are there the issues in the Sahel? Are there challenges of terrorism, which is today accepted to be the major threat to national government and continental peace and security? Terrorism, and for Africa, I think we all need to brace up. All parts of Africa are affected today by the threat of terrorism, be it the Sahel, be it the Lake Chad region, be it East Africa, be it Al-Sabah, be it South Africa in Mozambique, be it in Eastern Africa, be it in North Africa, from the spread in Libya coming down into the Sahel. So Africa is really beleaguered by the threat of terrorism, and I think those of you in the media are following developments and the interest of even presidents. Last 2 weeks, you know the meeting that was held in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, by the African head of states on the theme fighting extremism, violent extremism, terrorism, and unconstitutional change of government. And for us in West Africa, this is very important because part of the terrorist threat in the Sahel is very close. Almost every West African country is kind of directly affected or vulnerable. The vulnerabilities exist to the threat of terrorism. And we as a service, operationally, we've not lost sight of this. We continue to take counterterrorism interest very, very high in our activities. Overall, our assessment of the country, we think generally the country remains calm, it remains quiet. Of course, like all countries, you know, challenges happen. Challenges abound. You know, that's just the nature of the creature called government. So it's always challenged. There is no general smooth sail for any government around the world. But we also know the national security efforts are very conscious and very dedicated to meeting the national security challenges in making the Gambia safe and secure for the Gambian to be able to go about his normal business. Of course, challenges happen. Some of these things are the antithesis of development, but again, they come on the top of development. And as a country and as institution responsible for assessment of the state of the health of the country as far as security is concerned, our assessment is this. Of course, moving on, we know challenges abound, as I said, political, economic, social, regional, terrorism, price hikes, global market, global situation, global chain supplies disruption, global wars that may affect us, affect lives and livelihoods. I think the posture is conscious of this, and conscious efforts are being directed at this to help the Gambia sail through times unpredictable as they may be. On that note, I wish to once again, I think, of covered ground, unless if I have.
It's all covered.
I wish to thank you. Yeah, the National Security Belt Initiative, I think I've touched on that. That's the last bit. We continue to commit ourselves. For us, this is the first meeting we're having with the media to report on what we have endeavored to do. If we have erred, that is human. We are not perfect. We might have not done it all right, but our aspiration was to get it right. And I think the trajectory for the SIS is good. I think taking stock of where we were and where we are from all these strands I've mentioned: capacity building, institutional strengthening, training, credibility of product, our relations with national stakeholders, communities, persons, individuals, government, department, agencies, as well as internationally. I want to say that it's hugely improved. There is still much room for improvement though. But the SIS, being the SIS of the Gambian people, we remain very determined, very clear-eyed about how to deliver on the vision for the Gambian people. And I think, importantly, we've not been building only the SIS of the last 5 years. We are building the SIS of the future. It may not be me, it may not be him, it may not even be him. But we want to leave behind strands and pillars that will see the evolution, admirable, credible evolution of the SIS to be the premier intelligence service, respected, valued, whose products are much sought after and respected because of the advice we give. Devoid of subjectivity. Devoid of subjectivity. Devoid of I like him or I hate him, or I like that or I don't like it. We are basing our analysis on the merit of the information, not on the feeling and inclination of what we think or who we are or what we perceive X to be. We will be driven by objective. And I think we are there, or we are on track to be there. We are on track to be there. Again, this could not have happened without the support, the goodwill, the understanding of Gambians. We are from communities, after all. We are not parachuted from sky. We come from homes and families. You know, we are having blood and bones, like the average Gambians. We may be tasked with this Herculean task of intelligence work, but we are from Gambians. And the Gambians have shown us, undoubtedly shown us appreciation, have undoubtedly shown confidence in us. But the fact that they are coming to us and not running away from us, that is quite fundamental, a phenomenal shift. And I think that needs to be noted and acknowledged, and we wish to unreservedly acknowledge that and send it back to the Gambian people for the trust and confidence they continue to bestow and have in the service. And of course, the leadership of the country, the president, the cabinet, the government, the parliament, the legislature, the judiciary, you name them. I think our relation has generally improved with them. So as we build the service of the future, we'll continue to dedicate conscious efforts to attracting the best and the brightest of Gambians. And we are on course. Bright and the best must be the ones, as we develop the service of the future, who will be attracted to work in the intelligence service. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to be bright and best to be a director. You can be the bright and best of even drivers. You can be the bright and the best of even at the front desk. You know, you can be the bright and the best of even being the operative in the field. So the bright and the best would cut across all stratas and layers. But anyone working for the service, as we build for the service of the future, must have requisite knowledge, experience, disposition, understanding, cleverness, analytical, critical thinking, etc., etc., etc. But even the driver, his critical thinking may contribute immensely to national security. His challenges stop, there will be no intelligence service. Intelligence service, are bound to face challenges. Our super challenge will be how do we overcome those challenges. And that's why we need the right posture, the right capacity, the right orientation, the right training, the right institution, the right credibility, the right relations to be able to deliver on this, but also overcome the challenges of national security management. So in short, or in long, as the case may be, this is what we are delivered on in these past 5 years. And we are touching the reset button, if you like it that way. Today, with you, this is the first, so we are resetting the button. And this is a reset button to reboot. The buzzing is not sleeping. Or if it is sleeping, we are rebooting. It's not been sleeping, but we are rebooting. We are resetting the reset button. And I think this provides an opportunity, and we want to thank you for coming. And we wish you well in your individual career developments and collectively. And thank you. Back.
The iAfrica TV. I just want to know how accessible your products are, because sometimes you may work on these products, but then if they are not so accessible to the public, we may not know, or it may not be impactful as it is supposed to be.
So on daily basis, we share our daily intelligence reports with our consumer, principally for government. Or should it, as it happens, we disseminate to them, or upon receipt of requests. As you know, intelligence products are also classified. Depending on the classification, they may be accessed. Depending on the classification, is it a top secret? Is it a secret? Is it a restricted material? Etc., etc. So we are quite accessible. I mean, in that regard, as dictated by the product of the day. So if it is we think this is a matter that needs the attention of GPU, for instance, we will disseminate to GPU or to the ministry relevant that will be able to communicate to the stakeholder. So noting that obviously information must be timely, we are as reactive, or as proactive rather, as the intelligence or the report dictates. So that would be, I think, my answer to that. But yes, I think we ourselves don't want to be found sitting on information, So we pass the information or the intelligence as is required unto the consumer, targeted consumer of that product. I hope that answers your question, and thank you for the question. What does the Gambia? Okay.
Thank you very much, DG. I just want to take this opportunity to also respond to your question. Of course, just to buttress, what the DG has said. Information, as you all know, particularly in the domain of security in general and intelligence in particular, is classified, as DG has already very explicitly explained. But of course, it is also noteworthy that globally, there has been a deliberate paradigm shift towards the need to share information from the need to know information. As we have learned through very bitter lessons, what the unnecessary delay in information dissemination or restriction in information dissemination could cause. even to cite an example, the Twin Towers in America, to some extent it was attributed to the late or restricted sharing of information that caused that disaster. Yes, the service would always be ready and willing to share information, of course, in line with set protocols. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that question. Very relevant to today's discussion. We expect to do more of what we've been doing. That is, as far as the service is concerned, continue to reform it. You know, reform is not an event, it's a process. You know, and the process can go on, and there will be always room for improvement. But a better service, a more poised service, a service for the Gambian people, staffed by well-trained, well-motivated, focused, with respect for human rights and et cetera, for the values they are in. A service that is loyal, that is, of course, a secret service, and of course, a service that has courage. And courage, as I sometimes like seeing it to be, doesn't mean opening the jaw of a lion and jumping into its mouth. That is not courage. I think that is foolhardiness. But courage to say things, say them objectively, say them as they are supposed to be said. It may be liked, it may not be, but our job is also to say matters, but say them in a professional way. And that's the type of service we intend to build. We want and aspire to have a service that will continue to develop and be an envy or a reference point for other services globally. Come the day when they say the SIS of the Gambia is a premier global intelligence service. It may not happen soon, but I think knowing how the others did it to be premier, I think next 5 years, inshallah, with the current trajectory, I think we'll also go very, very far. And the Gambian people, we encourage them to see the SIS as a service of the Gambian people. Thank you.
My name is Mahmoud Jao, and I work for the Point newspaper. Did it mention that for the past 5 years and so, the service have been focused more on repositioning the service, recasting, reorienting, and the capacity building. What do Gambians expect in the next 5 years? And apart from cyber bullying and cyber issues, what kind of potential threats faces the country, if there is any?
Any imminent threat, because threat is also a higher level than a risk or a challenge. You know, threat is a much higher. But obviously, the regional and global situations, like terrorism in the Sahel, remains a matter that we should pay attention to as a country. The global economic situation, with us largely depending on foreign goods or foreign products for our daily lives in this country. I think the way the international market and market systems go, the way the global challenge happens across the country, maybe a matter that will challenge us. The cyberspace will continue to pose a challenge and a threat. Online radicalization, online recruitment of potential people to do mishap, not necessarily terrorists, but even cyber crime, organized crime based on cyber. Because the Gambia is not an island. In this very interconnected world, we are not insulated. Even where Gambians don't do it, the global situation may come to affect, or regional situation may come to affect the Gambia. So there are externalities, if you like it that way, factors that may be beyond our control. And I've named some of these things. And I think the abuse of cyberspace will continue to be a challenge. How do we de-escalate the hate, the cyberbullying, the allegations, etc., etc., the pitting of one community against another, or the pitting of one person or politicians against another. I think all those will be challenges. So the cyberspace, moving on, I think will continue to be a challenge. We don't see that going tomorrow, or going away tomorrow. But again, as we would say, Jigo, what you put in is what comes out. The cyberspace does not self-generate. It is what is inputted, or what people, individuals, put in the cyberspace that is on the cyberspace. The cyberspace itself does not generate hate. It does not radicalize people by its own existence. It is the abuses and activities of abuse that generate this. So we'll call on restraint, restriction, measuredness for Gambians. And moving on, 5 years, I think we'll continue to advise on restraint, measuredness, national reconciliation, national harmony, and Gambia in all its undertaking to reflect its national character. That's very important. Very, very important as we move on. We'll continue to advise on the national character in Gambia in almost every activity or undertaking we do. Thank you.
During the first press conference, which was held in November of last year, I was fortunate to attend the press conference. I am Lolly M. Camara from QTV. So during your PowerPoint presentation, you made mention of policies and laws under review, which include the code of conduct, the selection and the recruitment policy, training policies, amongst others. So just want to know how far have you gone with the policy and laws? Because I've mentioned that those are under review. Now I am fortunate to attend this one. Could be another value added to my story.
Yes, you are right. We had mentioned at that press conference that, of course, a very important component of the reforms is the issue of policy formulation, review, etc., etc. Initially, our preoccupation was with the SIS draft bill, which took a very long time, with the participation of so many development partners like DCAF and others. For that, we are already at the end of the roads. The draft has gone between SIS and the Ministry of Justice on some 2-3 occasions, and we are finalizing it. Hopefully very soon, the MOJ, Ministry of Justice, will table that at the National Assembly for enactment. Having said that, yes, regarding policy, our internal or institutional policy instruments, we have made some progress. We have already submitted a draft. In fact, by virtue of my position, I also had a technical working group that has been put together by the Office of the DG to work on these policies. And over time, we have been able to put together a selection and recruitment policy, which we shared with the DG, or the Office of the DG. He was very impressed about it, and he advised that we share it with the Office of PMO, being the experts in that domain for further advice. And I want to report that that policy draft is right now in the Office of the PMO. In fact, it's been there for a couple of months now, and we have to follow up so that we get their inputs with a view to adopting and immediately implementing it. Now, logically, from selection and training, from selection and recruitment, you have to train people. So we thought it wise to follow that up with a policy on training. And I'm also happy to report that just last week, we finalized a draft policy on training, which is on its way. It has not yet reached the Office of the DG, but hopefully by this week or next week, he will receive a draft policy on training. And of course, by way of priority, we want to start reviewing. For these two I mentioned, we never had them. We formulated them from scratch. But for the code of conduct, we had one since the days of the then NSS. Therefore, there was no soft copy. But we endeavored to get it typed so that we can have soft copies. And I want to inform this gathering that we have already shared soft copies with members of this technical working group. In fact, for your information, thanks for this question anyway. For your information, DG, the technical working group is to start, was scheduled to start working on revising the code of conduct today. I'm not sure whether they will be able to start it by virtue of these engagements that we have, but they were thinking of doing it or starting it today. So yes, we have covered some ground in terms of our institutional policies. Thank you very much.